who I walked, the Delta State Descent.
Never go there. I know they say it's came over to me.
And I sit down and talk and read this
Ready for the story?
Yes.
Those sack lunches, just grab one.
Their lunches, so we can start finding our seats, and this will be time to go to the museum field for our lunch. I heard somebody say, well, this is old school, and I thought, well, we just need some little boxes of milk and some trays. It would fit perfectly. And the idea for this event and exhibit, the seed was planted a long time ago when we started having meetings about, let's say, being for food. That's when we thought, let's start gathering some history. And we found an old sleeve of negatives. And you know what? I have interns, and I'll say, I've got some photo negatives I want you to scan, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like they don't know what cursive is now. They don't know what photograph negatives are, but Miss Sarah Beth Sloan with a collection of her negatives, and she had one with a sleeve on it said UCTS, and it was Union County Training School, and we bought a scanner, and we scanned those negatives, and a lot of them you see on the wall today. And then we thought, well, we want more than that. That just kind of gave us incentive to get more. And with the help of the Mississippi Humanities Council, who has supported the Ford Oral History Project through a grant, and with the help of Leanne Thompson, who has worked diligently and long on the interviews, posting on social media, and we have some momentum on that now. And for those of you who have been interviewed, thank you so much. And for those of you who have not been interviewed, thank you so much, because I know you're going to be, because we're just going to bug you about it. But I'm grateful for the wonderful job that she has done. And we have some of those interviews on in the executive gallery in there. You'll see kind of how we did this. And I'm also grateful to the many others who allowed us to copy their materials and gave us information. Cheryl, Gail Gibson, Miles Johnson, and others. And we're grateful to Dr. Stuart Rockoff, who is with us today. He's the director of the Mississippi Humanities Council. And we've been associated for many years. And he came to our rescue when COVID hit. He was the one that helped us with this project with the grant, as I said. And this is their 50th anniversary. So I'm going to ask him to come up and introduce himself and make a few remarks.
Thanks so much, Jill. Wow, it is great to be here today. Like a lot of us, I've been not as traveling as much as I used to prior to COVID, and so to get a chance to drive up from Jackson and to see this wonderful exhibit and this big crowd it just inspires me. As Jill said, this is our 50th anniversary year. We were founded in 1972. And the theme of this year is called Reflecting Mississippi. And the idea behind it is, how have we, in our stories, whose stories have or have not, let me restate this, sorry. How have our stories reflected or not reflected who we are as a people? Whose stories have not always been included in things like museums and exhibits. And so that's the idea with which we are thinking about our programs this year. And so when we got the grant application for this project, we thought this is a perfect fit for what we're trying to do. And when you walk through this exhibit and you see lifted up this story and these people and these teachers and people like Benjamin Franklin Ford, and you can see his impact, you realize that these are people that need to be honored and known by all of our communities. So this exhibit helps better reflect Union County, helps better reflect Mississippi. So thank you so much for including me. And if I can just put in a plug, because we funded the oral history part, and I was talking with some gentlemen over there, and I made the point that I'm a historian by training. History is not what happened in the past. History is what happened in the past that has left a record that can be accessed in the current day. So if you have a story, if you have an experience with this school, I strongly encourage you to share it, put it down so that future generations can know this history. Otherwise, they may well not. So that's my plug. The Mississippi Humanities Council is an independent nonprofit organization supported by the National Endowment for the Humanities. We also receive grants and donations from private foundations and individuals. We support a wide range of programs across Mississippi that help us explore our state's heritage, and this exhibit is a wonderful example of that. Our mission is to create opportunities for Mississippians to learn about themselves and the larger world and enrich communities through civil conversations about our history and culture. And let me just say one last thing, that I really want to share my admiration for Jill Smith and the team here at the Union County Heritage Museum. Y'all need to know that this institution is among the very best and probably the very best. So thank you for supporting it, and please continue to treasure it.
I wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, Leanne Thompson, who's with us today, she's always back there behind the camera. And but I think she wanted to say a few comments about the oral history program and how to get on the list to be interviewed if you have not. So come on up, Leanne.
I've seen a lot of the faces for many hours. And it has been truly a privilege to be able to work on this project with so many of you and to hear your stories. And as I tell people, I feel like in my brain, I'm putting together this puzzle, and every story puts another piece together. And it's so awesome to see how every story is very different, even if you're from the same class. But everybody has a different story, but they're all overlapping in different ways. And it's gone so far beyond just the story of PF4 school. Your childhoods, the churches that you grew up in, the neighborhoods and communities, and the people, the businesses. It's just awesome to hear all of the different stories. And so I hope that, I think right now we've interviewed 26 or 27 people. And at first it was kind of hard to convince people to do it. And it's getting easier now, because now people are calling me and saying, I want to do this. All of the videos are on YouTube. The museum has a channel. And on YouTube, under Union County Heritage Museum, there's a playlist called the Afford Project. And that's where you can find all of those. And it's updated every time I finish editing one. I put it there. And so it'll be there forever. So if you haven't seen those, that's where you can find them. And then I printed this out today. I made some slots for people to sign up to do interviews. And what happens is you come here. It takes about 2 hours. And I know that sounds like a long time, but it's just that's what happens. When you start talking, it's hard to stop. And I'm not going to stop you. And I don't ever want to say that we're finished or we're not doing this anymore. So we'll just keep doing these as long as people want to be a part of it. I think it's really important for you to tell your story for your your own family to hear. Because, the way that we do this, we start with where you were born, and we go all the way to where you are now. And a lot of our children don't know our stories, and grandchildren, and then they're always gonna be there. So I think that's really, really important to, take this opportunity to do this. So I'll be here, and you can find me, and if these slots fill up today, we'll just keep going. One other thing, if you have friends or family who'd like to be a part of this, and they don't live here, we can do this over Zoom. I've interviewed, I think, 3 or 4 people now who live very far away, and it works just fine. So we can do that. You don't have to come to this museum to do it. And if there are people who their health is not strong and I need to go to them, I do that too. So, don't let that stop you if that's what you're thinking. We'll still do it. So, thank you. I love doing it.
Cheryl Brewer Davis, granddaughter of B.F. Ford, who has been so helpful in sharing information and helping us make this happen. I had asked her to speak today. She's got this big heart and this hope for the future of B.F. Ford, as so many of us do. We have a dream for this city. And Cheryl is here today to speak about the past, the present, and the future. Please welcome Cheryl.
It is a tremendous honor to stand before you today to welcome you to this UCTS for historical exhibit. And I am truly honored. I feel like I need to, when you stand in front of dignified people, you should curtsy because you're like the Queen of England. And I feel that way about graduates and former people who had an attachment to UCTS B.F. Ford. So at this moment, right now, I'm not going to ask you to stand, but everyone who had a connection to UCTS B.F. Ford, please just raise your hand. And if you look around, look at all those hands that are raised, which means there are stories, there's still stories out there that this museum needs to know about. Stories about the history that, yes, we have the pictures, we have the video, but there's still some more stories out there because all of you have not been videoed. And so that's part of what the museum is so diligently working on. And I feel like my speech has already been given by the people that have already come up here, because Leanne and Jill are the people that you need to get in touch with so that we can have a huge reference, because all of you count. All of you count. All of us count. All of us matter. So before you leave here today, please sign up. Please sign up and make sure you tell, even if you are, she told me I was gonna have to give a video speech, and I'm not good with being in front of cameras, and I don't like speaking publicly. I'm really actually the person that wants to be in the background. I don't like being in the front, never have, but I have to do this now. So, history's purpose is to teach us 3 important things. Number 1, to celebrate the good of the past, the good things. Number 2, to help us learn from our mistakes so that we do not repeat them. And 3, to advance our future by building on what was so that we can make the world a better place. Amen. This exhibit exhibits to us a world that many of you are very familiar with. These pictures, you know the people in these pictures. There are some people that I've been taking pictures back and forth to my mom for months. Who is this person? Some of the people I recognize, and some of the people I don't. But everybody in here probably is going to recognize somebody. And we need your help with that, because you are familiar with it, because you lived this era. But for me, because I didn't live it. I have my story and my side of the story. Because D.F. Ford was my grandfather and Barnell Ford Kimmons is my mother. So I have a different perspective on the training of the Ford family. Yeah, the ones that attended the school, you have the teacher side. Well, I have the side where you got the spankings and what did I tell you about that? So my story is going to be different from your story, but all of our stories are going to be different. So that is why we need all of the stories. I've heard the stories from my family, I've seen the pictures, I've read the history books about this era. But this world that has passed many years ago, the world of segregation is gone. Former U.S. Congressman John Lewis said, you have the capacity and the ability to take what people did and how they did it and forgive them and move on. We are moving on. There is a time for everything, a time to heal and a time to rebuild. It is time for us now to rebuild. Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. You see, this project is not about me. It's not about my family. We are just the members of B.F. Ford's family, like you have members of your family. For me, I know Kathy is here, Kathy Garrett. I don't see her, but I know she's here somewhere. We had a conversation in here last week, and we both ended up crying because we talked about when we first came to New Albany. For me, because I was 13 years old moving from Colorado Springs, Colorado, it was a total disconnect. It was totally different from me. So this is not about me. It's not about my family. It's about moving forward for education. We all have blazed our own path. It's about the future of our community, our children, and it's about education for all. We can and we will use the former B.F. Ford schools to continue the legacy of education for the community, the county, and this world. Because of all those children I saw yesterday, I was overwhelmed because when I turned around and looked at them, I not only saw me when I was at their age, but I also saw doctors, lawyers, bankers, school teachers, preachers, artists, managers, models, presidents, vice presidents, athletes, and mommies and daddies. We already have Head Start and the Boys and Girls Club at Ford, but we can do so much more. Our children deserve the best. A legacy equals time plus dedication plus vision. We are all beneficiaries of the legacy of education and of someone who needed to do more. Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. All of us have vision. And when you have vision, you should share it with others so that a legacy can continue. And that is with educational programs for our community, New Albany and Union County. As I close, Harriet Tubman once said, every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, the passion to reach the stars and change the world. And we must all remember that we all have, no matter how old or how young we all have passion. We all have something that we wanted to do, but for whatever reason, we maybe gave up on it. But because of this project, I am not going to give up. I will not give up until I see my vision come to fruition. I want to thank the City of New Albany and the Mayor, Tim Kent, the Board of Aldermen, Lance Evans and the New Albany Schools District, the Union County Development Association, Mark and Kathy Garrett, Leanne Thompson, Betty Hamilton, Janet Eastman, Penny Blizzard. Jill Smith and her staff here at Union County Heritage Museum literally have blown me away with this exhibit. She has started with just a few pictures, and they have begun to tell a story. But you, everybody that raised your hand, need to help finish that story, because without you, we won't have a story. I can't tell the story, because, as I said before, it's not about me because I was on the wrong side of the spectrum. I never attended B.F. Ford School, not one day. Not one day. I was too old to go to B.F. Ford when I moved here. So I was really here only 4 years, and then I went off to college. So it is up to you to help finish the story, because it matters. It matters. So I would like to thank each of you for coming today. I would like to thank my family for supporting me and pushing me on. My mother and my husband for putting up with me when I'm always talking about this. My family from Florida and Wisconsin who surprised me. My cousin back there, he drove all night to get here yesterday. I used to keep him when he was a little bitty baby. He's a huge man. And I want to thank him for driving all night just to be here. And if you want to help with this project, Create Foundation has established an account, and we are a special project. You can send in your tax-deductible contributions to the Create Foundation, memo your check, B.F. Ford project. Thank you so much. Have a good day. I forgot one thing. So if you see this chalkboard back here, this saying, my grandfather actually, he said this. And I learned about it. I was having problems with something one day, and my mom said, Daddy said, when you need a helping hand, look on the end of your arm and get to work. And that is why I will not give up on this project. That is why, if you know me, if you tell me, I just don't think that's going to be able to be done, don't tell me that, because I have this.
Those of you that don't know me, I'm Henry Carr from the Red Hill community. Back in the early 50s, we were transported to B.F. Ford High School. Matter of fact, I started riding the bus in 58 and rode it until 62 and 63. We would go through Watersville, Beacon Hill, and all up through those hills and pick up kids and bring them up to the school. We had a wonderful time on the school bus. But we had a better time once we got to school. My major concern during my time, Inez Ford, the daughter of B.F. Ford, was the principal of B.F. Ford High School. And she tremendously got us involved in trying to be and do the best that we possibly could. I appreciate that today. Through her encouragement, I was able to get out of high school after spending a little more than ordinary time. Went on to Mississippi Valley and got me a degree, left Valley and went to Jackson State and got another degree, a master's, and went on to Mississippi State and Ole Miss and several other places. And through that effort, my life has been tremendously blessed. And I commend Cheryl and the committee here for doing such a wonderful job in putting this occasion together. But I just couldn't sit there and think about Inez and all of the hard work that she put into trying to groom us to make something out of us. Now doing integration, I think Inez maybe left and went to Memphis and started working at one of the universities. She was such a great person, a great caring person, intellect person, just whatever you wanted, she was that. And I just appreciate that. And then again, I just thank the Ford family, especially Cheryl and Miss Burnell, and the help that they are getting from the museum to continue that legacy. With that being said, thank you for listening.
You know, I went to school at Beavertown back in the day. You know how we were separate in Beavertown Church. We didn't really have a separate building for our school. So we went to school in the church out there. And we always had pictures of the school in New Albany. Something that we would want to do and get to. And back in the day, we had what they call May Day. Some of y'all might remember that. The county students would come to town, and we'd have races and all sorts of things, have a good time. And I got interested in sports. So back out in the country, we played basketball on the ground. Some of y'all may have done that also. Didn't play in the gym till it came down here one day and played in the old gym over there.
Unknown caller.
I remember the old gym. But anyway, that was so exciting to me to come to town and go down to the real gym and look at how those gentlemen played basketball down there. Tommy Beasley, the Timmons. Y'all ever remember any of them? Oh, yeah. Playing sports down at the old gym. You know, that was an exciting thing for us country boys to come see. You know, because it was all right in the country, but when we got down here, it was a lot more fun, and we learned a lot of things. So we country boys could race against the city boys. And we did pretty good. One thing you can do out in the country is run. Our teachers out in the rural were very good, and they taught us what we needed to know to get to the next level. We would come down, Mr. Ison Brown was our principal. He taught us well, but there were some more teachers, from Miss Grice. She taught us that. They wanted to make sure that we saw some of what was going on in town. So once a year, we would come down and have the May Day Festival. But the main thing was that the education that we got when we were out in the country was just as good as the one in the city. Because those were dedicated people. You know, at the end of every year, it may have been the junior and senior class that got to go on a trip. And, you know, the rest of it has been nowhere. You know, maybe Memphis, but that's as far as we had gone to. So we had a chance to get on the bus, and we went through Tennessee, Lookout Mountain, all up to Washington, D.C., and one of the president's house. Who was that we went to? Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson. Yeah. How many people graduated from BO4 in here now? Wow. Okay, so y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, back in the day was a whole lot different than nowadays. I never got a book all the while I was out at Beavertown that said new.
Right.
It had new and went all the way down to fast. But you know what I would always tell us? It's not the condition of the book, it's the material that's on the inside. And, I always wanted to be a school teacher. Don't know what happened. I didn't go that route. When I got to Ole Miss from Northeast, what I ran up on were people that were dedicated to teaching. Never was a day that I ran up on stuff like you heard back in the day, like some of the old governors used to talk, you know, that old mean stuff. I didn't hear that down in Ole Miss. You know, they would help you do whatever you had to do to get your grades up, pass, and go to the next grade. I'm happy to see I graduated from Ole Miss. One of the things I'm most proud of. But I didn't think you should put limits on anyone. And education should be one of the main things that we do have, and we look forward to our children, grandchildren, great-grand, and all of that. There's not a better place, in my opinion, to live than right here in New Albany, Mississippi. And so many good people here that helped all of us along the way, one time or another. And I want to thank Jill for the good work she's done with all of this. You know, I think this is.
Whether y'all know it or not, but Sam's on our board of directors.
You gotta get up early in the morning to be any better and any nicer than the people like you.
I know it.
Need all the help?